So welcome to this Q&A session for teachers about Ellii. Um, just a few quick notes to handle some of the logistical questions right up front. Yes, this is being recorded. Sorry, too many things here. There will be a handout, so don't worry about that. We will send you the handout, the slides, and a link to the recording later this week. And please, obviously, this is a Q&A session, so use the Zoom chat and use the Zoom chat throughout. And then in the second half, you'll be able to unmute yourself and just ask questions that way. I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Elizabeth Bennett. I am the statewide digital learning specialist at Literacy Minnesota. And I'll let Nick and Katie introduce themselves also.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Holson. I'm also on the statewide team with Elizabeth, and when I'm not working there, I'm working at Open Door Learning Center as a digital navigator. And with me is Katie Miller.
Hi everyone, I'm Katie Miller. I work with Nick and Elizabeth on the statewide team, and a lot of the work I do is helping Nick out at Minneapolis and helping Elizabeth with the help desk.
Um, and Jason's here. Go ahead, Jason.
Hi, I also work with the statewide team, and I work with Nick and Katie and Elizabeth. Um, I came because I'll probably be doing more of the tech support part, but I think it's important that I see what teachers see, so I just wanted to get a little extra leg up after watching a few videos, but I think it'll be a great session.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, and just in case you aren't aware, Minnesota is really fortunate in that we have several supplemental service providers for adult education all over the state. We are state funded, not federally funded for the most part, and we are here for you. You're part of the adult education funding from the legislature automatically goes to support the grant provider, Literacy Minnesota, Atlas, Southwest ABE, Panda. Um, I'm probably forgetting one, but we're here for you. We support you at no additional cost. So please use that help desk anytime. We love I love responding to help desk tickets. I don't know about Katie, but I do. So in our session today, I have prepared some slides for you just to take another look at Ellii specifically from a teacher point of view. The training that you already completed to get your account really was just mostly the logistics and how do you get the data that you need. So now we'll look at some of the more instructional focused aspects of the platform. We will talk about how to support learner success with Ellii when you are using it for distance learning. And then we'll take as much time as we can at the end for your questions. So what is Ellii? Just a quick review. Ellii is many things. You or your program may choose to just use Ellii as a curriculum resource library. It's fantastic for that. It has so many worksheets and handouts and flashcards and activities that you can use in your classes. You can also use Ellii as a distance learning platform for learners. So you will have your teacher account, and then learners will have their own individual accounts to sign in and complete digital tasks online. And that will allow your program to count distance learning proxy hours for work on Ellii. Or the best way, I think, is to do both. Something I like about Ellii is almost all of the tasks are available both as printable paper-based materials and as digital tasks. So you can work on something in class and then assign it for learners to practice digitally outside of class to reinforce or maybe preview what you're going to be teaching in class. And I love it when the DL that I can assign is directly related to whatever I'm doing in class. So I think it's a really great platform for that. I'm going to show you a short, about 3-minute video produced by Ellii, just to give you kind of an overview of the teacher side of the platform and some of the features that you will be able to access.
So, you want to learn about Ellii. Let's take a look. At Ellii, you'll always find highly engaging, ready-made content for all your classroom needs in just a few clicks. Whether you're teaching young children, teens, or adults, absolute beginner or advanced learners, there's a lesson for everyone. Here's how it works. Let's say you need a lesson for your adult intermediate conversation class. Easy. Just browse our discussion starters section, click on a lesson you know will grab your students' attention, and add it to your class. Or maybe you're teaching young learners who all need to improve their reading and vocabulary skills. No problem. Just dive into our discovery section and select a topic you're sure they'll love. At Ellii, finding the right content at the right time is simple. You can search for something specific, like a particular theme or target structure, and choose from a variety of materials, including lessons, resources, flashcards, or videos. You can also browse by lesson category, such as mini debates, story prompts, everyday dialogues, and famous people. Or you can take a look at our curated collections and drill down to something very specific with our sort and filtering tools. And when you find the right lesson, presenting it in class or assigning it for homework is super simple too. You can print or broadcast our content in document form, or present the digital version with interactive tasks. To assign something to your students on their own devices, just hit that Add to Class button. The lesson will automatically land in your class's lesson planner, right in the prepping lane, keeping you organized, well prepared, and on top of everything that's going on in your class. And when you're ready, drag that lesson into your teaching lane. Now, your students have instant access to work on their assignment in class or at home. You can also easily post it to Google Classroom, Canvas, Moodle, and more. When your students complete their assignment, you'll have immediate access to their results, where you can browse the reports by student, by assignment, or by task. We've also built a grade feed tool that lets you add personal feedback in one convenient inbox. You can check your students' answers and leave them a grade, a star rating, a note, or a voice memo, so they always know exactly how they're doing. Oh, and did we mention we've got a spectacular library of illustrations and videos too? In our flashcard library, you can instantly present images to elicit, teach, and reinforce vocabulary or grammar structures, or personalize the images to build your own flashcard sets, card games, and picture dictionaries. And our video library has a huge collection of topics, ranging from grammar and vocabulary to dialogues and pronunciation, to play in class or assign as homework. So that's Ellii. Better content, better tools, better outcomes for all your English language learners.
Ellii.
So that was a lot of content thrown at you really fast. The great thing about Ellii is they have so many different kinds of resources for you. And they have a pretty easy to use search function and a menu where you can find different types of things pretty easily. So as we saw in the video, there are lots of topics, lots of current events. There are areas specifically for CASAS test prep. There are materials for English language and civics and citizenship, some academic content, and just just a lot of things you can use. And most materials are available both in PDF form and as a digital task that you can assign as distance learning, or you can use it in class. Especially, I think if you're teaching an online class, you can just share your screen and do the task that way. So this is just an example. You saw this before, but it's the same activity, just in the two different formats. Also, if you don't want to present the digital tasks, say you're in person, your learners have the paper copies in front of them, and so you just want to present exactly what your learners are looking at on paper, you can do that. And you can annotate the PDF directly within Ellii. So when I was teaching with Ellii, I had to I thought I had to, I didn't actually have to, but I would always take screenshots of all the worksheets and then throw them in Jamboard and then annotate there, but that's not actually necessary. You can do all your annotations right within the platform, which is fantastic. The only note with that is that the annotations are not saved once you close the activity, but you can download the annotated PDF and then share the annotations as a PDF file. A little bit more about PDFs that I think you would like to know as a teacher. Most activities do have both versions, but there are a few activities that only exist as PDFs. Just like with the digital tasks, you can assign the PDFs to your class, like that add to class or share with class button that you saw in the video. It works exactly the same way. Learners will be able to view and annotate the PDFs just like you can as the teacher. But also, just like for you, their annotations are not saved and their annotations are not going to be visible for you. And importantly, for distance learning purposes, any time that they spend viewing or annotating those PDF activities is not going to be included in your proxy hour reports. Okay. So for that reason, you may not even want to share PDF-only resources within the Ellii platform because it's not going to count for distance learning. So if it's something that you want to provide to your learners just as a resource for them to have, it might be easier to just take a screenshot and share it in WhatsApp or post it in your LMS just as a resource for them to have. Also good to know that you can edit assignments. Some things that you can assign are like a study pack or a course even. So they have a lot of different things in there, a mixture of the digital tasks and PDF only things, but you can edit those. You can choose to just remove or hide the activity that's only a PDF, or you can write custom instructions to your learners that they should not be spending their time on the platform annotating that PDF. So this is kind of what it looks like. I assigned this banking study pack to my test class, but I hid the activities that were PDF only. And you can tell just by glancing at this, the ones that are PDF only do not have that little bar to show how much someone has completed. To edit an assignment, you can do a couple different things. You can add a due date if you want to. You can add custom instructions for your learners. And then if you click that edit tasks, that's where you can hide or omit activities that you don't want. I think you can also resequence activities if that is something that's useful to you. And there's a little video, we won't watch it right now, but there are lots of tutorial videos that Ellii has created. I do recommend this lesson planner video because it has a lot of really good information. Initially, I was like, why are they so excited about this 3-column lesson planning thing? But there are actually like quite a few cool things you can take advantage of. Just a reminder about not double counting contact hours and distance learning proxy hours. I think it's great to use Ellii during your synchronous class time, especially at the beginning when learners are just getting used to the platform and figuring out how to navigate it and do the different types of tasks. But your proxy hour report has no way of differentiating what time was in class versus what time was out of class. So any time that they are logged in is going to show up in that report. So I think the easiest way to manage this is that choose a 15 to 30 minute chunk where you're just planning my class that day. We're just going to be using Ellii during that time. And then when you take attendance, just mark it as though everybody left half an hour early. They didn't actually leave half an hour early, but that way you're not counting the contact hours for that time. That time will show up in your Ellii distance learning class instead. Also a note that Ellii is approved as a time on task platform, which means that the paper PDF versions of activities by themselves are not eligible for distance learning proxy hours. I know that may be kind of a bummer, depending on your situation and your learners' access to devices and internet. But because there are so many different types of activities, we're not really sure how we could fairly and reasonably develop proxy hour awards for each different kind of activity that's on the platform. If you have some ideas and you want to propose them, let us know. But for the time being, only the online time on task activities are allowable for distance learning. I'll just pause for a minute. Any questions up to this point about what I just covered? Reminder that you can feel free to type in the chat at any time. Katie and Nick are helping, and Jason are helping to monitor that. A few miscellaneous things I just want to mention. We're encouraging teachers, most of the time, it's probably going to be most efficient to just manually create learners' usernames and passwords for them. And that is when you would use the format that you saw in the training of the 2 letters for your site plus the learner's SID ID number. However, if you have more advanced learners who are comfortable using email, you can have them just create their own accounts, which is obviously a lot easier for you as the teacher. If you do it that way, then the learner's email address becomes their username. So we're not going to have control over the format in that case. Also, you may remember from the training, it is possible for learners to edit their own usernames and passwords themselves. So it's not a big deal if that happens, really. Hopefully the learners will all be tied to your class. And so even if we can't tell from their email address or their username who they are or what program they're with, we'll be able to tell from their class. So don't stress about it. There are only certain things that you have control over, and it's okay if not all the usernames follow that format. It's also okay if that format is really just not working for your learners. We're having too much trouble typing those 2 letters and all the digits of their SID number correctly, and it's just becoming frustrating. If you need to create a simpler username, I'm okay with that. I don't have any problems with that. Just in general, we would encourage you to use that format whenever possible. Ellii sort of integrates with Google Classroom, but not completely. You can give your learners an assignment in Ellii, and then you can get a link that you can post in your Google Classroom that will take learners to that assignment. However, they still have to have Ellii accounts. So if they are using a Google email address account, which they have to have for Google Classroom anyway. And then if that same Google account is also tied to their Ellii account, then it's pretty seamless for them. But if you have manually created their accounts, or if they have an email address that's different from the one that they're using for Google Classroom, then they will still have to sign in with whatever username and password that they have for Ellii. So it's not perfectly integrated. Um, and also you don't see the scores on assignments in Google Classroom. So all that learners do is mark it as done in Google Classroom. You still need to go to Ellii to see their actual work and provide feedback. If you are in a district that uses Canvas, I think that integration is a little tighter just because Canvas is a more advanced LMS. And there are some resources linked there if you're interested in that. If you've done some Googling, you may have seen that there's this English app thing that is also produced by Ellii. And that's an actual app you can get in the App Store and install on your phone. However, that is a separate product from what we are able to provide through our statewide plan. So don't have your learners pay for the English app. It's not useful for distance learning. You as the teacher are not able to access any of the proxy hour data. And there's just no point to having learners pay for something that they can get exactly the same content for free. The only downside to that is like, yeah, there's not an app that we can use. You just have to teach your learners to go to the internet browser and go to the website and sign in, and then bookmark that sign in page. When your learners are watching videos, most of the videos you can control the playback speed, just like you would with any YouTube video by clicking on the little gear or wheel icon. The exception to that is the shorts. I don't know if any of you looked at Ellii Solo very much. They have these really fun short videos, like TikTok style videos, that teach little grammar and pronunciation points. They're really fun and easy to just flip through, just like you would on TikTok or Instagram Reels or whatever. Those videos, I haven't figured out how to change the playback speed, but you can turn on captions if that is helpful. If you want to know more about the levels and you're trying to find things that are really precisely for one level, there is a chart that's linked here, and you can adjust your settings. I think I'm not sure how it will appear for you, actually. It may just show NRS levels by default, because that's how I have it set in my admin account. But you can also choose to show grade level equivalents or other English learning leveling systems that exist around the world. And for those speaking and writing tasks where you need to provide teacher feedback, there is an option in Ellii for AI generated feedback. But it's really flexible. You have the choice to just turn it off completely. You can have it on, but it's just a suggestion, and then you can edit the comment or just reject it entirely and write your own comment. Or you can have it provide automatic feedback. So that's a little nice if you're like me and you're not always really on top of grading your students' work. You can just have it provide automated feedback. And I think it's okay. I haven't had a lot of experience using it personally. The samples that I saw seemed to be like a lot more words than I would probably use for intermediate and certainly for beginning learners. But for advanced learners, that might be a nice way for them to just get immediate feedback on their work. Other questions? I see, Angela, you had something in the chat.
It's a link, and Angela, is this a resource that you're trying to share? Speak now or hold your peace. All right, I think we better proceed.
All
If we
right.
get more about that, it will go on.
So it's going to be really, really important to teach your learners how to use this platform. One of the trade-offs compared to MobyMax is that this platform does require more navigation, more internet skills than MobyMax. It's not designed for young children like MobyMax was. It kind of assumes a minimum level of digital skills. So with that, I think the most important thing to keep in mind is that this is going to be an investment, okay? You are going to have to put in time upfront for orientation and onboarding and coaching and troubleshooting, and it is going to take some time. But keep in mind that this is going to be time well spent because learners are going to be able to access additional learning opportunities outside of class time, and you're teaching transferable digital skills. And you're going to be able to model some digital resilience, okay? You're going to be able to model, what do I do when I'm confused and this thing is not doing what I want it to do? What else can I try? And just modeling a positive growth mindset of like, yeah, I don't know what to do right now. This hasn't worked for me yet, but let's keep trying and let's keep learning, and we can figure this out together. At this point, I will give you the handout. Drop that in the chat. This has a ton of tips for orientation and onboarding for learners. And I'll just go over a really small number of key points. My number one recommendation is to make a learner account for yourself and just become really familiar with all the different types of activities. It doesn't cost us anything, right? Ellii doesn't use a per learner seat pricing structure. It's based on the number of teacher seats. So make as many practice learner accounts as you need. It's not a problem. Try it on your computer, but also try it on your phone or a tablet, because most learners are probably going to be using mobile devices. And just become familiar with it and try to see like, what's going to be challenging for my learners and how can I address this so that they can be successful. Like I said, it's gonna require time. So it's that saying about you got to go slow at the beginning in order to go fast later on. Expect that you're going to have to devote some significant time to this and make a plan for what to teach and in what order. Do the best you can to break it down into manageable chunks. What counts as manageable is going to depend a lot on your learners and their English proficiency and their existing digital skills. But you just don't want to overload people and make them feel so overwhelmed that like they don't even want to touch it again. And be sure to include adequate time for learners to practice. It's not going to be enough if you model it once, they practice it once, and then they know it, okay? They've got to practice things repeatedly. They've got to have multiple opportunities to practice the same skill. And then also, I think as much as possible, I know some of us work in very small sites where there might not be a lot of other staff, but as much as possible, collaborate with your colleagues, with volunteers, with anyone you can get to help you, especially for lower level learners. They're going to need maybe one-on-one support. And I know, like, as a teacher, I've been there. It's extremely time consuming trying to figure out, okay, this person has an iPhone, but it's this version and they have these settings and this weird thing is happening. And then this person has an Android tablet, which I have never even used before, and I don't really even know how to use Android devices. And it's a lot. So ask for help. And especially lean on, I would say, people you know who have multilingual abilities, because there's nothing wrong with providing support for how to use the platform in the learner's home language. I think that's actually going to be a lot more efficient and a lot more effective if you have more experienced learners, or maybe you have EAs or paraprofessionals or interpreters or people who work at your site who can communicate with learners in their home language. Nick, this is totally, and Katie, both, this is your wheelhouse. So other things you would like to add?
Yeah, as Elizabeth mentioned, Rome was not built in a day. Ellii is a new platform, and unlike the other major statewide supported programs like MobyMax, a pre-beginning learner will likely have some hurdles to climb. Some tips for using Ellii with your pre-beginning or pre-literacy learners, your very beginners, might be to take things slow. You might want to do push-in classes if you have the capability to familiarize people with Ellie's name and what the website looks like. Passwords are usually a perennial, I was going to say obstacle, but maybe learning challenge might be the more optimistic way to say it. And color vocab really helps when I'm working with a pre-lit or beginning one student and they need a lot of help getting over the hump. If they have learned words like yellow or blue, those tend to help with the sign-in progress because those are the colors Ellie uses. Jason, it's a question wondering how many people are thinking of it as a mobile platform versus adding lessons to Google Classroom. That's a good question. I hope the audience thinks about that.
Well, and
Go
even if
for
I
it.
post my assignment in Google Classroom, a lot of my learners, they're accessing Google Classroom through the Google Classroom app on their phones. And
Hmm.
everything is a mobile assignment. I don't have any control over that.
Yeah. Likewise, we expect to see this as a mobile, like effectively, while we will roll this out in labs, we expect to see a lot of it used on mobile phones or tablets. Even though it won't be an app per se, it will, from the student's perspective, it's going to look and act a lot like an app, just one that opens up Safari or Chrome or whatever internet browser you have.
Mhm. Yeah, so I'm just showing a bit of the handout. So we talked about colors. I thought that was a brilliant tip, right? That's one of probably the first things we teach to pre-beginning learners. So if it's too much to teach all this login, next, I'm finished, like colors, yellow, blue. And then these icons. It is nice. I think the Ellie is pretty consistent in their layout. Like a lot of these icons are exactly the same across activities, so that's very helpful. Um, and then just be sure that you're teaching that vocabulary so you can communicate about what you want learners to do, and learners can communicate with you about, what's going wrong, what do they need help with. There are quite a few resources linked in this handout, including Here, there are some resources for making bookmarks or shortcuts on different types of devices. And I included at the end, here's a sample learner handout that I made when I was using it with learners. Obviously, you'll need to change this to be your own class code and then your own whatever email addresses. And this might be totally different if I was not manually creating the accounts. My learners were using their school district provided emails. So make a copy, adjust it however you need for what makes sense. And then just think about, what are you going to need to teach for the activities that you want your learners to do? The vocabulary matching activities are really nice, but they aren't drag and drop, which I was expecting. And it took me, even as a teacher, a few minutes to figure out like how to actually do the activity.
Yeah, and in addition to that, I always find that when you have a big list or a menu, a student or any user will need a few seconds just to orient themselves and find out where in the ladder they want to go.
Mhm. All right, so at this point, I think I'll hand it over to Nick and Katie, and they are going to give you kind of the learner view of Ellii. Katie's going to show you what it looks like as a learner using an iPad, and then either Katie or Nick will show you what it looks like as a learner on your iPhone.
Yay, it's time for a field trip.
Okay.
Katie, I'm sorry. I think I still need to make you a co-host, or did I? Oh, yep, here you are.
Okay. Okay, so here you can see this is what it looks like on an iPad. I'm sorry, Elizabeth, will you remind me, did you want me to show on Chrome or Safari?
So you are using an iPad, so go ahead and show Chrome. Or no, so show Safari, right? That's what we thought was better. If you're
Yes.
using an Apple device, use Apple's browser. If you're using an Android device, use Chrome.
Yes, so we did have some issues if people were trying to use Chrome on an Apple device. It wasn't the end all be all of using the app, but it was a lot easier when we were using what Apple products were meant to use. So, like Elizabeth said, one of the most important parts of utilizing Ellii as especially a mobile app or like app will be navigating students to this website, which you just Google and then it's the first one. To get started, you'll sign in as a student. Obviously, if you have a teacher account, which you guys will get in a couple of days, you would log in as a teacher, but as a student is what we want. Students will have this show up, and this is usually what we would recommend you bookmark or save. So on Apple, you are going to go to this icon, the share button, and then you can add it to your home screen. It does get pretty lengthy, so we usually delete it and just say Ellii. And then it shows up just like an app would on your device. Students will log in with their username and password. I have a different one because I was one of the testers for Ellii. But let's make sure I can get in. So this is what students will see when they get logged into the platform. They'll have the option to go to their classroom if their teacher has been assigning something, or many of the students that we have been using Ellii with in the past have been utilizing Ellii Solo. Elizabeth, did you want me to go to Solo?
Um, Sure, let's take a look at that, and then maybe Nick can show us the assignments on the phone, or you, either one.
I'll go to the assignments first. Okay, so this is in our class, or this is the class that I'm in. I'm in Elizabeth's test class, so you can see that it will automatically bring up any class that you're enrolled in, or I have the option to join a class with the class codes that you might have seen with the QR codes. So I'll click on my class, and you can see there are several different assignments that I currently have assigned to me. These are assignments that have passed their due date, so they're still accessible to me. They're just not listed where the current content will be. And then is the My Picks for connected to Solo, Elizabeth?
No, that's actually connected to the teacher's class. I would not worry about spending a bunch of time on this, at least at the beginning. But yeah, it's a way for students to kind of vote on what they want to study next in class.
I gotcha. So you can see that there are a bunch of different activities that have been assigned. Um, what we highly recommend is having people take the Ellii placement test, although it does take a little while. I believe they estimate about 30 minutes for the test. So you can see this is the breakdown of what they're asking students to do. And then there's also a PDF version available. And you can see you can choose what kind of English you would like to have. And then I will go back to the classroom. And then, like Elizabeth said before, you can see it's really easy to see which assignments are PDF only because I don't even have access to them in my student view. I can only see them listed. Elizabeth, is there more that you wanted to go over in the test class page?
Um, Kara, the good question about the placement tests. It does determine the level of assignments that get recommended to learners in Ellii Solo. So this is confusing, right? Because there's this placement test. This is on the classroom side. So this is something that you as the teacher can assign to your learners as one of your class assignments. But then when learners go to Ellii Solo, there is another placement test for Ellii Solo. And then the results of that will recommend different activities that they can do for Ellii Solo. Even though they still have access to everything if they want to go there, there's nothing stopping them. I think the Ellii placement test that you would assign in your classroom is just for information for you as the teacher. Yes, Kara. So Kara's asking if I assign something, will all learners get the same thing regardless of their level? Yes. It's the same placement test. And all of the assignments, anything that you add to your class and make it, you put it in that middle column that you're teaching it, that's available to everyone in the class. So there was that one example in the training of the teachers who had multi-level classes, and they had multiple classes in Ellii so that they could assign certain assignments to lower level learners and certain assignments to higher level learners. Why don't we see what it looks like on the phone now?
Sure. Give me 1 second.
All right. Now we'll take a trip over to my phone as soon as I remember what this meeting's passcode is.
Recording in progress.
Oh my. There we go. Alrighty. I'm going to make my own phone a co-host. There we go. So, as Elizabeth and Katie mentioned, Ellii works, as far as we can tell, perfectly fine on any major mobile platform, whether it's an iOS, an Apple phone, or an Android phone. Here, you'll see I've bookmarked Ellii as something that looks like an app. It's going to redirect me into Safari down there. So if I click on it, I'll wait. Ellii will load right here. On a student's personal device, I think it's fine to let autofill take the wheel, especially if it's a student who trips up a lot over your password. If your goal is simply to practice English, I think this is a very useful step. Now, for here, we'll take a brief stop at the classes. Things look mostly the same, readjusted for the iPhone's resolution or screen size. Things will be more rectangular. To switch to Ellii Solo, I go up to my profile, click on the blue button, and here it is. As mentioned previously, there's not really a way to cordon off students. They select what they want off of Ellii Solo by browsing. So they might need a little bit of help sorting through the library videos, sorting through these different categories to find something that you want. That's why even if you're using Ellii as a DL platform, uh, I would encourage you if you want a more curated experience to focus on making a class and selecting which assignments you want. You'll probably need to spend some time looking at what's available. But if you want to simply plug and play and give students that sense of exploration, Ellii Solo is a perfectly fine alternative. Here are the menu selections. I'm going to sort them by popular. I want to see what other people think is cool. People think literary legends are cool. This is one of the assignments Elizabeth mentioned. I don't know if it's a DL only thing. We all tried to drag and drop when we first saw this, but it was just click and then click to match. Let's finish this up. Yay! One thing that I encourage students to do, or one thing that I've had to coach students to do, is to go to review answers and look through some of the answers with them, especially if they get things incorrect. All right. Let's say that we're finished with our episode, or I mean episode. Let's say we're finished with our session. We want students to log out, direct them to the navigation menu, and log out, which is a nice consonant vowel consonant word. Yay. Most students, my final note of students learning on their phones, Most students will be done by now, and it's usually okay to just leave things as they are. But sometimes for more digitally literate students, I have them practice closing the tab like this and then closing Safari so that they don't have 100 tabs in their phone and things will run a little bit smoother. Jane Freeman asks, are there prepared units available or is it geared for skill practice or both? There are study packs available in Ellii Solo. Let's go back in and try to find one. And study packs were created by the Ellii team uh, to give those pre-curated things. So yeah, it is a case of both. In terms of skill practice, uh, can you elaborate on what you mean? Do you mean particular language skills or particular academic skills? Meanwhile, on screen, this is Grammar Plus is an example of a study pack by grammar, vocabulary, etc. So yeah, in that case, I think they are primary. I think the study packs are organized around skills and language level. Like there's an Ellii 1, an Ellii English level 1 study pack. There are things like this, grammar groundwork study packs. So maybe more by skill or competency. Here's a preview of what would be inside this study pack. A lot of these assignments take the form of drills. If I go to I am, I would practice typing am over a variety of sentences. There, almost got me. All right, let's get out of this. One last thing, we already talked about the assessment, and here I am trying to find it again. But one thing to be aware of in at least the Ellii Solo assessment, for students who are less experienced with using computers, or even those who are, they can exit their own assessment before it is complete. And Ellii, I think they can re-enter it if they still have time left. The assessment is timed, but I've had students effectively cut themselves short by accident, and Ellii then either gives them readings lower than what they are, or treats their interrupted assignment as complete. All right, so that was Ellii on mobile. I'm going to log off, close my tab to save some battery, and then stop sharing.
Actually, why don't you keep, if you don't mind, Nick,
Well, let's go.
keep sharing, and if there are other things that you would like to see from the student view, we can look at Nick's phone, or if you want to see things from the teacher view, then I can share my screen again and show what that looks like. Um, that's all that we really had prepared for you. So the rest of the time, there's not a whole lot of time left, but any questions, we would love to have your questions. Azul had a question in the chat if learners can try activities again. And yes, I think except for the assessments, learners can try as many times as they want. And you can adjust in your grade feed if you, as the teacher, are looking at only their first attempt or the answers that they gave on all their attempts.
back to classes.
So to go between the Ellii classroom assignments and the Ellii solo self-study, it's a little hard to see, but he's tapping on his name and his little avatar, and that's how you get the drop down to switch back and forth. So that is definitely something that you'll want to teach learners. That I think that's harder to see on the phone than it is on a larger screen.
And we were almost remiss. We only have 4 minutes remaining, but this is the student view of feedback. Oh, here I looked at this under the student view, recorded some audio, received some pretty gracious feedback from my teacher. But I suppose this is a little bit of a live question. I don't see feedback for the other assignments that I
That's
did
because
in
I
this.
haven't graded them yet, Nick.
Oh, well, I'm eagerly awaiting that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I am not using the Ellii bot AI feedback. But yeah, that is available to you if you are like me and have trouble grading things in a timely manner.
Question.
Katie
Okay.
has a question in the chat about teacher account emails, especially for volunteers, because hopefully you have volunteers at your organization who are also able to take advantage of this. Yeah, if you do not have an organization or school district email, we can still give you an Ellii teacher account as long as you complete the training. And if it looks suspicious, I might verify with a staff member at your program that you're actually volunteering there. But no, it shouldn't be a problem if you don't have an organization email.
There also shouldn't be a penalty for using a admin email that a volunteer has access to, like a password.
Right. We just want to make sure that everyone who is using the account has gone through the training. All right. If there aren't any other burning questions, I will just go back to sharing my screen here and we'll end with a few reminders. You will get a follow-up email with the materials and an evaluation link for this session. You can complete the evaluation to download a CEU certificate, or just complete the evaluation anyway. We would appreciate it. There will be 2 sessions at Summer Institute about Ellii. Concurrent session 8 on Thursday is going to be with an Ellii trainer who is coming as a vendor to the conference. And then session 9 on Friday will be with me and Katie, and maybe Nick. And then we will also have some additional Ellii trainings throughout the year. So watch your newsletter. And actually, we have all your emails if you have an account. So we'll probably send some email reminders also. And please save the date for Friday, October 3rd. Our team is doing something new in the spirit of Math Institute and Language and Literacy Institute. We are now going to have a Digital Learning Institute. So we will cover distance learning platforms like Ellii, strategies for online and high flex teaching, cool tech tools you can use, AI. Lots of good stuff. I'm putting the link in the chat now. Please go ahead and register, and we hope to see you there. Finally, we do have just a quick reminder about our YouTube channel. This recording will go up there soon, and you can subscribe to get updates when new videos are added on all sorts of adult education topics. And that really is all for today. Unless you have other questions, I can stay on for a few more minutes. But thanks for attending. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And we hope to see you in October with 1 or 2 months of Ellii use under your belts.
Yeah, and at Summer Institute.